Okay, so are you ready for this?
Always.
Today, we are diving deep into, honestly, one of the, I think, most interesting economic stories out there.
Yeah,
It's Poland's economic boom. I
absolutely.
mean, we're talking about a country that went from, like, communist rule, economic turmoil, like the whole nine yards,
Yeah.
to like becoming a European powerhouse. And it happened so fast.
It,
Just a few decades.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the big question, right?
The big one.
Can it last?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to answer that, I think we really need to dig into all those forces that have shaped Poland's economy.
No, for sure.
We're talking what? The historical context, the choices they made,
Right.
the advantages, the challenges, all of it.
Yeah, because you just look at the GDP numbers, which, I mean, they're impressive.
Oh, yeah?
Our research says that Poland's GDP, get this, shot up by 827% between 1989 and 2018.
Wow.
827.
Yeah, that'll turn some heads.
It's mind-blowing.
It does grab your attention.
Yeah. But, as you said, it's not just about the numbers themselves, but what they represent, what's behind them.
Right?
So we got to understand what fueled that growth.
Exactly.
How's it actually impacted, like, everyday people in Poland?
Right.
And for that, I think we got to rewind the tape a bit.
Yeah, let's go back because our source material really emphasizes like how crucial Poland's history is to understanding what's going on right now,
For sure.
It's honestly kind of a story of resilience, right?
Yeah.
They faced some like really dark times,
They did.
being wiped off maps, literally
Right.
ravaged by wars
Mhm.
under the thumb of the Soviet Union.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's heavy stuff.
It is. And I think, honestly, Poland's economic transformation, it becomes even more remarkable
Oh, don't.
when we consider that backdrop, that devastation.
Yeah.
This wasn't just rebuilding an economy. This was rebuilding a whole nation.
From the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that they did that was so interesting was that, after the fall of communism,
Right.
they just decided to embrace a market economy almost overnight, right?
Yeah.
It's what do they call it? Shock therapy, right?
Shock therapy. That's the one.
So risky,
Huge gamble.
but for Poland,
Yeah.
it seemed to have paid off
It did. Big time.
hugely. But it wasn't easy, was it?
Not at all. I mean, shock therapy was massively controversial, even at the time.
Yeah.
And, Poland's economy, it thrived. But you look at other former Soviet bloc countries,
Right.
they tried similar things
Right.
and they ran into some serious roadblocks,
Totally different outcomes.
night day in some cases. So
So,
the question is, what was different about Poland?
okay, so what was it?
What was their secret sauce?
What made them different?
Well, I mean, a few things stand out right off the bat.
Okay.
One of the big ones, timing. They kicked off their economic transformation just as the global economy was entering this period of like supercharged globalization,
Oh, wow.
rapid technological advancement.
Okay.
And that created, this unique window
Mhm.
for countries willing to really embrace those market reforms
Right.
and attract foreign investment.
Yeah.
And Poland, they jumped right in.
They went for it
They did,
head first.
head first.
And it seemed to have worked out for them.
It did. And, speaking of seizing opportunities, joining the EU in 2004,
Oh, yeah.
that was huge for them.
That had to be a game changer for them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
EU membership, it's like
Yeah.
gave them access to this massive single market,
Right.
tons of funding, helped to modernize their infrastructure, their institutions.
Right.
And I mean, it's no coincidence that Poland's economic growth,
Yeah.
it really took off
It accelerates.
after they joined the bloc.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear.
So it seems like, joining the EU, like, no brainer, right?
Right. Seems like a slam dunk.
But our research also mentions this idea of a golden cage.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it?
What is that?
It's like, it's this weird paradox, right?
Okay.
So the EU brings all these benefits, right? No doubt about that.
Right.
But it also comes with, strings attached,
Okay.
dependencies, limitations. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm like,
Yeah.
imagine like you get into this super exclusive club, right?
Okay, yeah.
It has everything.
It's got all the perks.
It's amazing, but you
Uh,
got to follow the rules.
You got to play by their rules,
Even if you don't always agree with them, or even if they're not the best for you.
even if you think they're kind of dumb. Yeah, exactly.
So it's like benefiting from the club's perks, but also having to like,
Play by their rule book,
yeah.
which let's be real, isn't always written with your best interests in mind, right?
Exactly. So, like, what are some of those limitations that Poland's dealing with because they're in the EU?
Okay, so one example, and this is a big one, the Common Agricultural
Right
Policy,
here.
the CAP.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's supposed to support farmers across the EU.
Makes sense.
Right. But some people say that it really benefits larger Western European countries more, which
Yeah.
puts Polish farmers at a disadvantage. You
Okay.
see what I mean?
Okay.
Another example, and this is a hot topic, the euro,
Okay.
Poland, eventually they're going to have to ditch the zloty and
Right.
switch over.
Right.
But there is a ton of debate within Poland
I bet.
about when or even if that's actually a good idea for them.
Interesting. So it was like this double-edged sword. It
About-
gives them all this opportunity, but then also kind of constrains them at the same time.
Yeah, you hit it right there. Opportunity and constraint.
And this debate, I mean, is that causing issues within Poland?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, these aren't just like, abstract economic theories we're talking about. This is real life,
Yeah.
people's jobs, their livelihoods. It all factors in.
Yeah.
And it plays into this even bigger debate that's going on in Poland about national sovereignty, what it means to be Polish,
Wow.
economic independence,
Right.
and, their place in this larger bloc. What does it mean to be part of the EU?
So it's almost like they're trying to walk this tightrope, right?
Totally.
Where they want to get all the benefits of being in the EU, which makes sense.
Right.
But they still want to be their own country and chart their own course, which also makes sense.
You've got it. They want the best of both worlds.
Right.
But the question is, can they have it all?
So how does that impact the bigger question of their economic boom, right? Can it last if they're dealing with all this other stuff?
That is, you're asking the big question. And I think to answer that, we've got to look at the challenges and the opportunities they've got ahead of them,
Okay.
because it all ties together in the end.
Yeah.
Well, one way it impacts them is their ability to, navigate the global marketplace.
Right.
Because, for years, Poland was, the place to go for low-cost manufacturing.
Right.
Remember those, what was it, made in China tags on everything?
Oh, yeah.
Poland was, right there with them.
They were giving them a run for their money.
Exactly, because their wages were lower.
Right.
Made them super competitive.
Right.
Especially for companies that, wanted to move production out of Western Europe.
Right. Because it's more expensive.
Way more expensive.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer for a lot of businesses.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Poland doesn't want to just be the low-cost option forever.
Right. Okay.
They're thinking bigger.
Okay.
They want to be known for more than that.
I like it.
They're really making a point of transitioning to a more knowledge-based economy.
Oh, interesting.
Focusing on things like innovation,
Right.
research and development, that kind of thing.
So instead of just being the factory floor, they want to be the ones designing the next big thing.
Exactly. Designing it, building it, the whole 9 yards.
I like that.
And you can see this happening when you look at the industries that are, setting up shop in Poland now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell me more.
It's not just basic manufacturing anymore, right?
Right.
You've got major players in aerospace, automotive, IT, even renewable energy.
Wow. Okay.
They're even making moves in artificial intelligence and robotics.
No kidding. They're going all in.
They're not messing around. They're playing the long game.
So how do they avoid because I always hear about the what is it, the middle income trap?
Oh,
Is that something that they're worried about? Am I saying that right?
yeah, the middle income trap. That's the term.
Okay.
And it's a real thing.
Explain it to me.
Okay, so imagine this. A country experiences crazy fast growth,
Okay.
right? They're on top of the world. Everybody's talking about them.
Right.
Their income levels rise.
Makes sense.
But then they hit a wall.
Okay.
They can't seem to break through to that high income status.
Why? What happens?
It's a lot of factors, but a big one is getting stuck in that low-cost manufacturing model.
Right. Okay.
Wages go up.
Yeah.
They're not as competitive anymore.
They lose their edge.
Exactly. And boom, they hit a ceiling.
So how do they avoid that then?
Well, they've got to walk this tightrope, right?
Okay.
They got to stay competitive.
Right.
But also, they can't be afraid to, invest in innovation
Okay.
and make sure they've got those high-skilled jobs.
Right. So they need people who've got the skills to do those high income jobs.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
And one of the things that Poland's doing right is their education system
Okay.
is seriously impressive. They consistently rank among the best in all of Europe.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they often outperform Germany and the UK in
Yeah.
those, international rankings.
Right. Did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Education is huge for them.
They must be like pouring money into it.
They understand that a skilled workforce is like their secret weapon,
Yeah.
is how they're going to attract investment,
Right.
drive innovation, compete globally.
Right. It makes sense.
And they've got the talent to back it up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Polish engineers,
Yeah.
programmers, entrepreneurs.
Okay.
These guys are like highly sought after all over the world.
Really? Wow. I'm learning so much today.
It's a smart strategy.
It's like that saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day.
Right.
Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime.
Exactly.
It's the same with like, investing in education.
100%. You
Yeah.
invest in education.
Yeah.
The returns, they keep paying off.
It's long term.
Exactly. Long game, just like we were saying.
Yeah. And speaking of investments, this is something else that I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Poland has been putting a lot of resources towards their military lately,
That they have.
which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about that.
They're like aiming to have the strongest land force in all of Europe.
That's the
Goal? That's ambitious.
bold move.
What's the deal with that?
Well, it's a couple things, really.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's a response to Russia,
Makes sense.
especially after what happened in Ukraine.
Right.
Poland's right there on the border,
Yeah.
both with Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
So they're like hyper aware of what's happening geopolitically.
Oh, for sure.
They see what's going on and they're not taking any chances.
So a strong military, it's kind of like a deterrent.
Exactly.
Like don't even think about it.
Exactly. Don't even try it
Yeah,
because you know we will bring it.
exactly.
But it's not just about, defense.
Okay.
This also has some interesting economic side effects. For one thing, it's attracting a lot of investment,
Okay.
like from those big defense contractors,
Oh, right.
creating jobs.
Okay.
And it's positioning Poland as like a major player in European security.
Right, because they're like taking it seriously.
Exactly.
They're not relying on other people to like take care of them.
They're stepping up.
They're being proactive.
And that earns respect,
Right, so it's like this ripple effect.
Yeah.
Stronger military, more influence globally, maybe even more economic clout.
It's all connected.
It is.
But of course, all this, the economic growth, the
Yeah.
military spending, it's expensive, right?
Right.
Got to pay the piper somehow.
Exactly. So what are the challenges that Poland's facing that might, throw a wrench in all this?
Well, one of the big ones, and this is a problem everywhere, is debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Public debt,
Yeah.
specifically.
Right.
Like a lot of countries, Poland's dealing with rising debt,
Okay.
and they're spending, especially on defense.
Right.
It's not helping.
Right.
How they manage that debt,
Yeah.
that's going to be huge.
That'll make or break it.
Yeah, if they don't get a handle on it,
Right.
it could spell trouble down the line.
Right, because unsustainable debt, it never ends well.
Right. Usually, no.
So besides debt, what else should we be like aware of?
So this is another interesting one, and it really highlights like the human side of all of this.
Okay.
The Ukrainian refugee crisis.
Right.
Huge issue.
Yeah, so Poland has taken in a ton of refugees, right?
A ton. And,
Yeah.
to their credit,
Yeah,
they've been incredibly welcoming,
good for them.
but realistically, it puts a strain on resources,
Right,
right?
of course.
Housing, healthcare, social services.
Yeah, I mean, 1.6 million people, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot. And it's not like you can just, snap your fingers and make it all work.
Right.
It takes planning, investment, and a commitment to making sure everybody feels welcome and supported.
Right. You've got to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Otherwise, you risk creating even more problems down the line.
Right, exactly. Because if it's not handled well, it could lead to like more instability.
For sure.
Which then impacts the economy, and it's just a whole big mess.
Exactly. One thing leads to another,
Right.
And that brings us to another potential challenge, political polarization.
Okay.
This is something we see everywhere, right?
Mm.
Poland's no different.
Okay.
You've got this growing divide,
Like
liberals and conservatives. And it plays out in all these different ways.
Like what?
Debates over the EU, social issues, even the role of religion.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
It's like they say a house divided against itself cannot stand.
That's a good one.
Can Poland's economy really succeed if it's dealing with all of this division?
Yeah, it's a lot,
Yeah.
I mean, economic progress, the whole thing with Russia and Ukraine,
Yeah.
social integration, political division, it's like,
A lot to juggle.
it's a lot to juggle. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So, I mean, can they keep all these plates spinning? Can they, have this amazing economic boom, but also be dealing with all this other stuff in the same time?
It's the big question, right? And honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer,
Right.
but I think what we have to remember is that Poland has a track record.
Okay.
They've been resilient.
Yeah.
I mean, they've dealt with some crazy stuff.
They have.
Invasion, occupation. We're talking like really tough economic times.
Right. We've talked about it.
And they always seem to come out on top.
They always like rise from the ashes.
Exactly.
Like that phoenix.
There you go. That's the image.
Yeah.
And that spirit, that determination, that's what makes Poland so interesting.
So it's not just like luck. They're not just like in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
They're actually making it happen.
They're making their own luck.
Yeah, they're making it happen.
They're not just dreaming of a better future. They're building it
I like that.
with their bare hands if they
Yes.
have to.
So as we look ahead then, what are like the things to watch? Like what's going to determine if they can keep this up?
Okay, so based on what we're seeing in the research, a few things pop out.
Okay.
One, they've got to figure out this whole geopolitical situation.
Yeah, because Russia's not going anywhere.
Exactly. And as long as that's, a powder keg,
Right.
Poland's going to have to be ready.
Right. And that costs money, being ready,
A lot of money.
which they might not be able to then spend on other things.
Exactly. It's a balancing act.
Right.
Another thing, they've got to figure out the EU.
Yeah.
Like, how do they make that relationship work for them?
Right. Because it's like they want the benefits,
Of course.
but they also want to be their own country.
It's that golden cage all over again.
It is. They want the perks of the club, but they also want to like,
Write their own rules.
yeah, exactly.
Tough needle to thread.
Yeah.
It's going to take some serious, diplomacy,
Okay.
real vision.
Right.
And honestly, they're going to have to be willing to compromise.
That's the hard part for people.
It is, but that's how it goes sometimes.
It is. So it sounds like, I mean, a lot of this is riding on like the people in charge,
Sure, they're setting the agenda,
Right.
but honestly, it's bigger than just them.
Oh,
It's about the Polish people,
right. Like if they don't buy into it, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's about, like, are the businesses going to step up?
right.
Are they going to innovate? Are they going to compete?
Update globally.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what about, like, young people?
Okay.
Do they see a future for themselves in Poland?
Right. Are they going to stay or are they going to go somewhere else?
Exactly. Because if the best and brightest all leave,
Right. It's a problem.
it's going to be tough to keep this going.
So it really is kind of like everyone's got to be on board.
I think so.
That's interesting.
It's a team effort,
So where does this leave us? What's like, I mean, can we even answer the question? Is Poland's economic miracle gonna last?
If I could predict the future, I'd be, on a beach somewhere,
Right.
sipping something fancy.
Not here.
Exactly. But what I will say is this.
Okay.
Poland has a way of proving people wrong.
I do.
And they're really good at turning a negative into a positive.
Okay.
So whether they can keep this going, I don't know.
Right.
Too many factors,
Too many things going on.
Geopolitics, the economy, just people making choices,
Right.
But here's what I do know.
Yep.
Poland's story.
Yeah.
Far from over.
I like that.
It's just getting started. And that's exciting.
It is exciting. I think that's a good place to kind of like wrap things up, right?
Yeah.
Poland's economy, it's a roller coaster,
It really is.
and they've overcome a lot.
They have.
I'm honestly like, I'm kind of blown away by everything they've done.
Yeah, it's impressive.
It is. And for our listeners, if you want to learn more, we've got like a ton of information in the show notes.
Oh, yeah. Check it out.
Links to articles, reports, all that good stuff.
The deep dive goes on.
Exactly.
Keep learning.
So on that note, we are going to wrap up this deep dive into Poland's economic rise.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and we'll see you on the next one.